So today we're going to do something kind of cosmetic to Chaos Theory here and take care of something that's really been getting on my nerves for the last couple months. And as you already know from the video description, I'm referring to this cracked and busted dash. Now the thing that really annoys me about this is when we bought this car, a little less than 3 years ago, the only thing wrong with this dash is that corner right there was a little messed up and it had one single crack right here. All this stuff that's spider webbed out, none of that was there. We just had one single crack going right through here. None of this was here. This wasn't here. Nothing. That was it. And I was like, okay, well, that's not bad. I've got one little crack. Well, even though we've kept it in the garage pretty much the whole time we've had it, all these cracks is spider webbed out. And when I'm doing all my, my in-car videos at the drag strip or just riding around or whatever, I can't stand looking at it. It's getting on my nerves. But I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of money on it because we are going to be putting a cage in this thing eventually. So, they're going to have to cut holes in the dash up here for the down bars. So keeping that in mind, I really didn't want to go out and spend $400 or more on a reproduction dash. So I started looking around. I noticed it's a company, I can't remember the name of it, but they actually make parts to do the whole Night Rider kit conversion on Firebirds and stuff. Well, they've actually started making a fiberglass dash, like replica dash for this car. And I think it's around $200. I don't even remember because I'm not getting that either. And the reason I'm not getting it is while I haven't seen those dashes in person, I have seen several people post pictures of them, and I don't really like the way they look. The texture's not right. I mean, you can tell it's fiberglass. It's really shiny. And while you could do some prep work and paint and probably make it look pretty close, to the factory looking dash as far as texture and I don't know what you would call it, texture and tone, that's just more work than I really want to put into it. I just want something quick and kind of easy. So after looking around on eBay, I noticed that they make these dash covers that are plastic and they're right at $100, guys. So I started looking around and there's several guys running these covers. So knowing that in the future I'm going to have to cut holes in the dash anyway, a cheap $100 plastic cover seems like it'd be the better way to go instead of either buying a $200 fiberglass dash and then doing a bunch of prep work to it to make it look the way I want, or worse yet, paying $400 or $500 for a full aftermarket reproduction dash pad and then end up having to cut holes in it for the roll cage. So I went ahead, I ordered up one of those plastic dash covers, and I'm about to show it to you. This is what you get, guys. I really like the texture of it. I'm just going to go ahead and say the only thing that you're really going to be able to look in the car and notice right off the bat that this is not your factory dash once you get it in is, the vents for your speaker covers here, because the factory one, it has all these ridges cut, and this just has, the hole pattern punched in it there. But as far as the texture goes, the texture is pretty much spot on. I don't know if you can see that. And it's not real shiny. Of course it will be if you hit it with Armor All, just like your regular dash would. But from what I can tell, this doesn't seem like it's going to be too hard. It pretty much snaps on in the front. It cups over your dash in the front, and then you have to glue it around the back and the sides, and you probably want to glue it around where your little vents are there. And that's pretty much it. It also came with a tube of Hung Sung Fui unknown adhesive here. Now I actually took some of this adhesive and put it on a napkin just to see what it would look like after it hardens, and it does get semi-hard, but it's still got kind of a I don't know, kind of a squishy texture to it even after it hardens. So I guess that's on purpose so that the dash can kind of expand and contract during hot and cold. And I do want to say, I mean, this thing, it's kind of flimsy, guys. So it's not like a really hard dash. You can see it's kind of flimsy, but it does hold its shape pretty much if you hold it out like this. Now, I did go on YouTube. I watched a couple videos of other people installing this, and I think a lot of people just go overkill with the adhesive. In the front here, I really don't feel like you need much adhesive because up front, like I said, it cups under and it should actually like snap onto the dash almost. So you're really not going to have to worry about the front coming loose since it wraps underneath and everything. And they don't give you that much adhesive, and I think that's for a reason. I don't think they want you to glue it down all across through here. And the reason I'm thinking that is because your stock dash is made of a different material. So my line of thought there is it's probably going to expand and contract in the wintertime and the summertime at a slightly different rate than this does. And I think if you try to glue this completely down all across here, you may run into an issue there where it might end up causing it to crack or something like that. So what I decided to do is do what, even though it doesn't come with instructions, what I'm pretty sure the manufacturer wants you to do and why they give you such a limited supply. I'm just going to run a bead across the back edge here on my factory dash, and I'm going to put some around these vents on both sides, and if there's any left, I might run some across the front here, but I'm not going to get, you know, too carried away with it across the front. Now we are going to have to do some prep to our old dash if we want this thing to sit level, because as you can see, when these crack, they start to flare up. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull the old dash pad out, and we're probably going to use our grinder, and we're just going to grind away all the material that's kind of sticking up and try to get this as level as possible so that when we put the new dash on it, it, you know, doesn't try to bulge anywhere or anything like that. And something else I want to do while I've got the dash pad off again is we're going to go ahead and get rid of our big tack here. That's remnants. If you guys remember, when I first swapped this car, we had no gauges, and I was racing this thing with that being the only gauge in the entire vehicle. Well, now we've got our Holly dash over there, so we really don't need this guy, but I've just not felt like taking it apart to take it back off. So while we've got the dash pad off, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this big tack. We'll save it for another project, and I'll probably save the wiring here because I am thinking about putting a programmable just a programmable shift light over here maybe in the future. So we'll leave the wiring for the tack there in case we need it, but let's get this dash off. So getting the dash off is pretty easy. You've got 6 screws across the front, so you've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 over here. Those are 7mm screws, and then in the back there you've got 4 more 7mm screws. So we'll go ahead, get our ratchet, and get all those taken out. All right, so we got the dash out, and I've popped the vents out because one thing I figured out, the vents do not want to snap in here. So apparently this overlay needs to go over the top of the dash with the vents already installed. But what I've done, where several of these were cracked, I went ahead and broke them the rest of the way out on both sides, peeled back some of this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cutoff wheel or my cutoff tool, and I'm going to put a flapper disc on it like you'd use to grind metal, and I'm going to go through here and try to grind down all these high spots and these ridges and just get rid of everything sticking up. Because guys, I just tried to put it on there and it almost fits, but it's like it does not want to go back, like it doesn't want to go over this far enough. So I'm hoping after I grind some of these high spots down, maybe it'll go on a little easier and go all the way back the way it should. If not, what we may need to do is take our heat gun and just heat up this leading edge a little bit and maybe pull it out just ever so slightly, just to relax it a little bit, where it can wrap around here a little easier and fit back. Because the problem I'm having now is when I put it on, it doesn't want to fully seat against this. I have to put a lot of tension right here, and I'm telling you right now, if you go to put your screws in here and those screws are having to hold tension, this is going to end up cracking. Like there's no two ways about it. It's going to crack right where those screws are. And speaking of screws, be very careful when you're taking these 4 screws here out because I managed to drop one of my screws, and I'm not sure if it went in the vent or if it went down through here, because I can't see it down there anywhere. I'm gonna have to get one of my magnets out and try to fish it out. Interestingly enough, once I sanded the dash down, the cover fit a whole lot better. So you can kind of see where I went over. And again, guys, I'm just trying to knock down the high spots in these cracks. So once I did that, it seems like the dash wants to fit a little bit, or the cover wants to fit a little bit better. So I wiped the old dash pad down with alcohol and a rag. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of check for, make sure everything's laying down where I'm going to want it to lay down, where it's going to be able to adhere. And I'm going to look for some clamps. So what I'm planning on using is I've got some of these assorted wood clamps here. I've got some C clamps, because what we got to do is once we lay our adhesive out, we want to clamp it down as much as we can everywhere there is adhesive, so it holds down and, well, so it adheres. Again, I may not put any adhesive on the leading edge because it wraps around. So as long as it's pulled back, and it will be because we'll have to drill our screw holes here, so it's going to have constant force, kind of pulling back on it. So I don't think the leading edge is going to be an issue. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of try to fit everything. I'm going to put my vents back in because, like I said, they will not pop into this shell. So you kind of don't have a choice. You got to put the vents in, then put the cover over it, which in my opinion isn't going to look the greatest, but again, this is a $100 cover, guys. This isn't a $400 or $500 replacement dash, so I'm not really expecting much. I'm just expecting not to see cracks. Alright, so moving right along, I wanted to try to test fit this cover again. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, guys. This thing is not going to fit perfect, at least not on my dash. I had a choice. I could either line up one of the vent holes and the other one would be covered up like halfway, or I could split the difference and just, slightly cover up the edge of both vent holes. Same with the side here. I don't know if you guys can really see that, but it kind of overhangs here. Well, you can slide it over to one side and you can get one side tucked in good, but then you've got this much overhang over here. So it was just a matter of splitting the difference and trying to make it look as good as I could. Also, the dash, like I've tugged and pulled, it does not want to come all the way back. Like I said, guys, it's cheap. This is a cheap fix. If you're doing some kind of concours looking restoration and you want your stuff to look good, I wouldn't recommend this. I said that in the beginning of the video, but hopefully this will serve the purpose. So what I'm doing, I've decided to wait another night. It's kind of hot out here in the garage, especially with the dryer going. I'm sure you guys can hear that. So what I've done is I've just pulled and stretched this thing as tight as I can on here to try to get it to halfway fit decent. And I've put all these clamps here, and I'm just going to leave it out here in the heat overnight and hope that maybe it relaxes a little bit, because I tried the heat gun on the front to kind of open it up, hoping it would help it pull back some, but as you can see, it won't quite go to the edge. It's worse down here on the passenger side. So yeah, I'm going to leave this in the garage overnight, hoping maybe, the heat and the clamps holding it will help it to kind of relax and conform to the dash. And I'm going to come out here tomorrow and from what I'm seeing here, I think my best bet is to avoid glue on the front altogether. It's like I said, that fits in a pocket. It's like that's not going to come loose most likely. So I think I'm going to use all the glue on the back side here to try to keep the back side down, because that seems to be the biggest problem. So what I'll probably do is I'll do me a little zigzag line all across the back here of the glue that they supplied, and then I'll probably put some down in here, some on the back side here, and if there's enough, I'll probably put some here too. All this on the other dash. I'm not sure if I'm going to show you that, because I got a feeling I'm going to be fighting with this thing. So I'm not sure if that's going to be on camera, but that's where I've decided to put the glue, guys. So, all right, guys, it is the next day. I didn't really record the whole gluing down process, but I will try to insert a picture kind of showing you how I spread the glue out right here. Now, you can see I tried to clamp this thing down everywhere, and then in the middle where you saw in the picture, I put all the glue in the middle here. I stacked these Chilton manuals and also some brake rotors on top to hold that down while it glues. I also went through and lightly sanded the bottom side of the cover, and then wiped it down with alcohol again, just to try to kind of promote some adhesion. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I've got my doubts as to whether or not this glue is going to hold. You can see the glue came out a little bit right there. Once I release these clamps, I'm not sure the glue is going to hold. I'm hoping it is, but what I'm going to do before I take all the clamps off, I'm going to go ahead and take the books off and everything, and we need to drill our holes for our screws to go through here. I want to say this, guys. I was not able to get this dash to fit worth a crap. I'm pretty sure I showed earlier, the vents are partially covered up. The dash is way too long. From front to back, I had a lot of trouble pulling and stretching it over the front. And because of that, that's why I'm worried that the glue is not going to hold back here, because it's going to have to hold that force. I even took my heat gun and went along the front edge a little bit to try to maybe relax the material so that this glue wouldn't be under so much stress when I release these clamps. But I don't know how that's going to go. I will say this, I'm pretty sure I said it in the beginning, I wouldn't recommend this if you're trying to put this in a car that, you're wanting to be like a really nice restoration or something. As far as I'm concerned, this is a low buck fix for like a drag car, or just a daily driver that you don't really care a whole lot about, but you don't want to look at cracks. And something else, this material, as thin as it is, and the fact that it's plastic, I would probably be very wary. And I'm saying this because when I was just lightly heating up the front here, there's one spot down there where it actually, even the little bit of heat I was putting on it, it tried to like raise up a little. That makes me think, if you were to leave this car parked out in the sun, if you live in a really hot climate, I bet this thing buckles. Just a warning, guys. I would not leave this thing parked in direct sunlight in really hot places for long periods of time. This car primarily stays in the garage, so I'm not worried about the buckling. But like I said, guys, I give you honest opinions on parts that I use, and I'm just telling you, this has its place. A restoration is not its place. We'll just leave it at that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take these books off. Before I take the clamps off, I'm going to go ahead and drill the holes out. We got our holes drilled, and we got all the tape and the clamps off, and it seems like the glue held pretty good in some spots, not too good in other spots. But for the time being, it seems like it's holding pretty good along this front edge, which is the main area, I was worried that it wouldn't hold. So, yeah. So not really much left to do here except put it back in and maybe wipe it off with some Armor All or something. actually went back together a little better than I thought it would. I didn't really show it, but I mean, it was just the opposite of removal. Just put it in, put your 6 screws back in across the front, and your 4 screws in the defroster vents, and it's solid. There she is. We are missing that 1 screw. I couldn't find it. I do not think it's in the vent. I think it has fallen down inside the console or inside the dash area. So at some point when we take all that stuff apart, we're liable to find it. But I mean, this guy's in here solid anyway. The vent's not being lined up perfect. Still bothers me a little bit, but I mean, it looks good. I've not hit it with any Armor All or anything, but it looks like a brand new dash, except for, you know, the speaker grills, like I pointed out to you guys earlier, they're different. But other than that, kind of looks like I got a brand new dash in there. Door shut's good. You know, there's just, I mean, there's enough gap right here. There's not as much gap as there was because this pad was a little bit longer. You know, well, I've already said it 100 times. It was a little too long. But it actually fits nice there, and over here on the driver's side, it's actually got a little bit more of a gap, but not a whole lot more. But there you go, guys. There's the new dash. Again, I am worried about heat maybe making it, you know, warp or something like that. So if something like that does happen, you guys know, I will let you know in a future video. But if I don't tell you it happened, then it hadn't happened yet. You can see where I've got the screws here. We got this one, and this one, but we're missing that one. Next trip to the junkyard, I'll take care of it. But that's it, guys. That's the dash install. I'm just gonna wipe the dash down with some Armor All, and we're gonna get this girl ready to go on the trailer. It's my neighbor in a turbo Honda, but we're gonna get this thing ready to go on the trailer because we're actually going to take it back to the track this weekend and hopefully hit some 5s. Kind of boring video, but I just wanted to show you guys what I was doing, since a lot of you guys were making comments about my cracked dash pad. It's fixed. So thanks for watching. Get out in the garage, get something done, and I'll see you next time here on Bad Luck Garage. And next time will be a track day video.